Alright class, so welcome to day 2 of this online learning experience. Today is March 19, 2020. Today's learning target is simply going to be to explain in fuller detail how absolutism develops in England. Just a quick reminder, 1. Absolutism is a type of government where a person has absolute control over the people they govern, over society, whether that's government, economy, religion, military. That person has absolute control. Second, the way absolutism is going to develop in England is going to look totally different than in Spain and France, mostly because absolutism won't develop in England, and we'll talk about why later in this video. So the plan for today and what this video is going to take you through is, first I'll give you a couple of reminders. After that we'll take some notes on the rest of the story of absolutism in England after King James I, King Charles I, what happens next. And you'll take some notes on that, so make sure you take out a piece of paper or a Google Doc wherever you're taking notes. Once again, when it comes to notes, I have no idea what quizzes and tests are going to look like. I have no idea how long this online learning thing is going to last for, but you should be taking notes because at some point you will be using this information for later. Whether that's a traditional test or a project or a paper you have to write, having these notes handy will help you down the road. Your homework that is due 3 p.m. today, so Thursday, 3 p.m., is answer some review questions. There's going to be a Google form posted on Google Classroom. I just need you to answer those questions for me by 3 p.m. today. Right, so we talked about King James I, King Charles I. These are two rulers of England. They're kings that come from the Stuart family. The Stuarts were rulers from Scotland. And one thing to know about the Stuarts is that their relationship with Parliament, once again, Parliament is a government body in England that helps the ruler. They help make laws for the people, gives a chance for the people to have a voice besides just the kings. Parliament and the Stuarts do not get along. And this is going to lead to what we call the English Civil War. Two main groups are fighting. The Cavaliers. The Cavaliers support the king, King Charles. So Charles starts with a C, Cavaliers starts with a C. That's how you remember that. And the Roundheads. The Roundheads support Parliament, and specifically they support a man named Oliver Cromwell, who we will talk about later. Okay, so Cavaliers support King Charles. These are the nobles. Realize absolute rulers, kings, want to make sure they have the support of the church and of the nobles. So the nobles, of course, will support the king because the king is trying to make sure he takes care of the nobles. It goes both ways. The Roundheads are led by this man named Oliver Cromwell. Oliver Cromwell is not a part directly of the Anglican Church. Right, so we have the Church of England. Oliver Cromwell is a Puritan. What that means is that he wants to purify some of the practices and beliefs of the English Church, Church of England. That is who is leading the Roundheads. In the end, it's a very bloody, violent war. A lot of people get killed, including King Charles I. The Roundheads, Oliver Cromwell, the group that does not support the king, it supports Parliament instead, they win the Civil War. And King Charles I is going to get executed. He's going to get beheaded after he loses, which kind of is the trademark moment of the war, showing how violent and bloody that it was. So this is Oliver Cromwell. He is a middle-class man, so he's not nobility, but he's not super poor either. He's in the middle. And like we said before, he is Puritan. After the English Civil War, when the Roundheads win, England goes to a new time period and a new government system, and we call this the Commonwealth. This is not absolutism. Oliver Cromwell is not a king, doesn't have absolute power. One thing he does do, though, as he is leading England during the Commonwealth, is instead of promoting Anglican teachings and beliefs, he promotes Puritan teachings and beliefs. Keep in mind, this is going to be the backdrop for people going to the United States, the colonies back then, escaping religious persecution later on in the century from the Anglican Church when they take back power. So instead of forcing Catholic, Anglican, whatever beliefs, he believes in freedom of religion. However, this does not apply to Catholics. One thing that's different about England compared to Spain and France, as they are not majority Catholic. Eventually they're going to have a couple rulers who promise never to have a Catholic ruler in England again. So after the Commonwealth, 1660, Charles II, so we had Charles I before the English Civil War. Later down the line, Charles II reclaims power. After the Commonwealth and Oliver Cromwell, that whole time period ends. So we're going back to a king. He restores some of the practices of the Anglican Church, no longer Puritan. James II takes over after that. So we've got James I, then Charles I, then Charles II, and James II, a little tricky to keep track. James II goes all the way back to Catholic teachings and beliefs, not just Anglican, but Catholic. This is something that the English people despise. They do not like Catholic rulers. So what they do is they ask a couple, William and Mary of Orange from present-day Netherlands, to come to England and take over as their new rulers, so they will no longer have James II. They will no longer have Catholic rulers in their country. William and Mary of Orange do this. They are Protestant, not Anglican or Catholic, and they take over and kick out James II. This transition in power is called the Glorious Revolution. It's called the Glorious Revolution because we're getting rid of Catholic teachings, which is glorious for England, but also it's peaceful and non-violent. The Glorious Revolution looks totally different than the English Civil War. It is not a bloody, violent affair. Along with the Glorious Revolution, we have something called the English Bill of Rights. This is a government document that establishes certain rights that apply to everybody in England. And one thing it promoted is the power of Parliament, this group of people that represent the country, they're the voice of the common people, that they need to have power over a king or a queen, the monarchy. And this is still true today. We've got the Queen today. She basically has no power in England. She's more of a cultural symbol. The real government power in England today does not belong to a king or queen. It belongs to Parliament and a Prime Minister. What the English Bill of Rights says in the Glorious Revolution is that we will no longer have Catholic rulers, not have things like cruel and unusual punishment. They are going to protect something called habeas corpus. This is the idea that you can't just throw a person in jail. They need to be charged with a crime. They need to go through the process of having a trial. Then they can be put in jail. You can't just throw people in jail without charging them first. This is something that Abraham Lincoln got rid of during the Civil War in order to unite the North. He just took the people who disagreed and threw them in jail without charging them or anything else. The English Bill of Rights is not the same as the U.S. Bill of Rights, but it does have big impact on the U.S. Constitution later. This comes first. When the United States gets the Constitution, they will add their own version of the Bill of Rights. Many of the ideas are borrowed from England's version. Right, so that's kind of the basic rundown of how absolutism develops. Even still today, once again, the power belongs more with Parliament as opposed to a monarchy. Absolutism never fully takes root the same way it does in Spain, in France, and later on this week and next week we'll talk about other places that have it too. So what I need you to do first, if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. Leave private comments, leave emails. I'm doing my best to be by my computer or phone between 10 and 3 when you guys are expected to be working. And I will try to answer your questions as soon as possible if you have them. But once again, email, private comment is probably the best way to do it. On Google Classroom, there's going to be a Google form. It's going to ask you some review questions. Please answer those and fill that out by 3 p.m. today. Lastly, I'm going to post a Quizlet. That Quizlet's going to have the key terms and key people from this unit on absolutism, absolutism in Spain, absolutism in France, and then including absolutism in England too. And that's just for review. You have no homework with that. It's just to put those terms on to help you study for later. So again, let me know if you have questions. Otherwise, good luck with this work, and I will be talking to you again tomorrow.